Sunday afternoon. We are live. Got the countdown today. It's great. Okay, I'm Andy Andrews. You've joined us here on the Blue Plate Special. And we are live here at the Wharf in Orange Beach, Alabama, the financial district of Orange Beach. Here, the Wharf is home to 2 Marlin statues and 4 escalator statues. The escalator statues are unbelievable, and if you visit us down here, you need to get your picture taken on them. They're life-size, lifelike. They're perfect sculptures. They just they're incredible. If you're joining us for the first time, please click your notifications and turn your notifications on your phone. That way you'll be notified when we go live. Marcy Crosser Taylor, good morning from hot Pasco, Washington. I can't ever tell if it's going to be hot or rainy or cold there, but it's going to be in the hundreds all week. Oh my gosh. Patricia Clapp, you shared. Thank you very much. Judith DeWitt from Spokane Valley, Washington. Man, what's going on in Washington? And I mean, like the other Washington. Heather Olson in Utah, shared. Thank you very much. Glad to have you guys. Chris Comer, hey buddy, how are you? Chris Comer has a class starting like right away. Sandra Mendonca from sunny Searcy, Arkansas. Sandra, where have you been? I haven't been able to say Searcy, Arkansas, home of Harding University, where they ate their mascot. Hadn't been able to say that lately, but glad you're back. Becky Ottenberry. You know, we have a good show here today. We have an unusual show. I'm aggravated, and I'm going to tell you about it. So, you like the shirt? You like the shirt? This is from Sand Dollar Lifestyles, who's our clothing sponsor here on the Blue Plate Special. They provide all the shirts, and they have millions of them down there. They are the cornerstone of the Wharf. So you need to visit them if you're there too. Hope? You got it?
I think I did. Oh,
Hope?
Do it again.
See, that's the thing about doing a live show. You can stop anytime you want. Kim Petrucki, how are you doing? In northern Texas, balmy. Everywhere's balmy. We've got a pretty full bunch here today from, I guess, probably from all over the United States, Baldwin County. You know, have we got any Blue Plate virgins in here? Anybody? This is your first Blue Plate? Okay. All right. Good. We're glad to have you here. You know, that's a scary word, isn't it? I mean, that even scared myself when I said virgin. That kind of gave me a jolt. I was in the grocery store in Publix the other day and saw a whole rack of virgin olive oil, and then I saw I saw an olive oil thing that said extra virgin. So what is extra virgin? I mean, my dad always told me either you were or you weren't. I don't know. It's like, hey, if you can hold out another 6 months, you'll be an extra virgin. I guess. I don't know. Dr. Barb and Lieutenant Dan, are you guys watching? Lieutenant Dan was in a horrible accident, a motorcycle accident. I think you people know how I feel about motorcycles, and oh man, Dave, you need to get to feeling better. I know you can't be watching. You were in surgery this morning, but Dr. Barb is probably watching because she's probably tired of dealing with you, frankly. Tammy Nance, hey, you're from Virginia, but where are you? So, Dr. Barb, you put a yes on there. Is that yes, you're tired of dealing with Dave, or yes, he is watching? But you guys are in Pittsburgh, and our prayers are with Dave and with you. Elizabeth Torres from Delaware. You know, today we're gonna. I just you can't help but read newspaper reports or just you see. I don't really read the news, but I see the news, and a lot of it is aggravating me. Obviously, today. You know, I'm aggravated that the IRS is adding, what is it, 87,000 new people. And have you seen their ad for their people? For what they're doing, this is the ad to get applicants. It's we'll use a gun and must be willing, or will carry a gun and must be willing to use it. I'm not making that up. So, but that won't cause any more audits. It won't. That, you know, it's just 87,000 of them. They won't do any more audits. But I see this stuff, and some of it seems very important. Some of it just seems incredibly important. But then I see stuff, and I think, do these people have nothing else to do? I mean, it's like these people. It's like the person in your neighborhood that's like picking at you because of, you know, you had grass grow 2 inches over the curve, and the architectural committee said you couldn't have grass over your curve, and you didn't do the edging right, and you're getting a summons to the committee. And have you had any of that? I mean, this kind of stuff drives me nuts. The in-studio list today is huge, and so we're just glad you guys are all here. We're sorry some of you are standing up. You're certainly willing to sit on the floor, but I hesitate to say that.
What school did all these people come from?
Yeah, I mean, usually when we have a group this big, they're from like a class, you know, from a school. And so this looks like maybe the Orange Beach Elementary fourth graders here today. It's like, okay. All right, I'm gonna get into this. Two things have caught my attention. One is, can you remember when you heard somebody talk about anti-hunting or that kind of stuff, and you thought, oh, this is ridiculous? I mean, I don't know if you can remember that. I mean, you thought, this is ridiculous. This will never take hold. And it really has. Well, somebody sent me to the PETA site, and I am amazed that they're pushing no fishing, anti-fishing. Now, among the offenses that fishing is, not only is it hazardous to eat fish, you know, that's just the one reason they give for you, is hazardous to eat it. But cruelty to worms. Now, we're going to get into this more with the next one, but cruelty to worms, just remember that, okay? This is a deal. And also, there's a sticker you can buy that says, fish are people too. So this thing about, you know, making animals, giving them human qualities. But PETA says, and I'm reading this. This is directly from their site. To combat fishing in your area, post no fishing signs on your land. If you have a pond or a lake, join or form an anti-fishing organization and protest fishing wherever you go. Encourage your legislators to enact or enforce fish protection laws. before you support a wildlife or conservation group, ask about its position on fishing. Groups such as the National Wildlife Federation, the National Audubon Society, the Sierra Club, the Isaac Walton League, the Wilderness Society, the World Wildlife Fund, and many others do not oppose fishing. I just can't believe the gall of these people not to oppose, especially the Isaac Walton League. Isaac Walton wrote the book on fishing, and they're mad that he doesn't oppose it. Jeff Herring says, Cruelty to Worms would be the great name for a rock band. It would, wouldn't you? Oh my gosh, that would be so great. All right, hope you've enjoyed that 1 hour of the Stones. Next hour we have coming up Metallica, the Doobie Brothers, and Cruelty to Worms. Stand by. Yeah, that would be great. You know, I don't think the no fishing thing would go well here in Orange Beach. I mean, this is like fishing central. But this one ramped me up. Now this one, this next one, this ramped me up because I didn't really, not only don't I agree with it, I guess I could see how somebody could pull a fish out and it's, you know, it flaps and they could say, it's in pain. I can't. I mean, I guess I could logically see that the fish is hurting, it's bleeding. I guess I could kind of see that. I don't agree, but I could see the logical progression to that. It's like I was telling somebody the other day. Have you ever talked to somebody that you thought, did you just like land on Earth? And the way I describe somebody like that is, if you ask somebody, what's 2 + 2? And their answer is 5. It's wrong, but you can see how they get there. You can see 2 + 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4. They put another finger. You could see how they could make that mistake. But when you ask somebody what's 2 + 2 and their answer is orange, I'm not sure how I know how they got there. Okay, and so this, and I've just taken pieces of what I was reading. I was so blown away. Whoever Dr. Jessica Pierce is, she was at her local branch of PetSmart, which is the pet store chain, obviously. And she was, and now this lady, Dr. Jessica Pierce, is now an author. All right, and she wrote a book called Run, Spot, Run. Now, obviously, this is a takeoff on the old thing that we remember from first grade, but it's not the same meaning, okay? So she was in a PetSmart, and she was buying crickets for her daughter's gecko. And she became troubled. It was a slap in the face, she said, about the awareness that hit her. How can we do this to animals? So Pierce went on to write Run, Spot, Run, which outlines the case against pet ownership. And this is the case against owning pets. And she says, from the puppy farms churning out purebred dogs to the goldfish sold by the bag and the crickets by the box, pet ownership is problematic because it denies animals the right of self-determination. those crickets she was buying for that gecko. The cricket's no different from the gecko, no different from your dog. Ultimately, she says we bring them in our lives because we want them. But then we dictate what they eat, where they live. We dictate how they behave, how they look, even whether they get to keep their sex organs. This is like it's a bridge too far. And it goes on to say that treating animals as commodities is at odds with how we say we feel about our pets. The emotional lives of animals, even relatively simple animals such as goldfish, goldfish's emotional lives are far more complex and rich than we usually think. Yeah, that's what I think of when I look at a goldfish in a bowl. Your emotional life is so rich and complex. And then there's a New York Times article called Dogs Are People Too. It's like fish are people too. And a comment by a neuroscientist, the logical consequence is that we don't have the right to control every aspect of their lives. You don't have the right to dictate where your dog sleeps, what it eats. I mean, so they're calling also to end zoos. Well, they already got the circus. I mean, they already got the circus. You know, and it's funny to me that one of the big arguments against the circus was the lion and tiger trainers. Okay, they were being cruel to the lions and the tigers, and so now this may be just me, but when a guy goes into a cage with 15 or 20 lions and tigers with a whip and a chair, I'm not thinking he has the advantage there. I mean, remember Roy? Remember Roy? Siegfried and Roy? Remember Roy? Yeah. I mean, those. Have you ever seen how those tigers live? Siegfried and Roy's tigers. I mean, they live better than we do. I'm telling you, they have this lush mansion with waterfalls they play in, and you know, antelope go donate their lives to them or something. I don't know, but they have this great life, and they have lights that open up to the sky, skylights, and all they want to eat, all the sleeping, the music, and what's the thank Roy gets? To be drug off the stage by the throat. That's the thanks he got. Meanwhile, the number of vegans is on the rise. Anybody in here a vegan? Anybody a vegan? A vegan? Anybody? Nobody? Anybody vegetarian? I'm a vegetarian. I mean, I'm not really serious about it. I still eat pork and beef. But I'm a vegetarian. Have you ever had a vegetarian to your house? Ever have one to your house? You know, that is that's a unique experience. Because we have some vegetarian friends, and not many, but you know, You have one over to your house, and it's like, I don't eat meat. No, we didn't know that. Yeah, I hadn't had a hamburger in 10 years. It's like, well, I hadn't had broccoli in 10 years, but I'm not bragging about it. But it's funny that they do expect that revolves around them. In Run Spot Run, Jessica Pierce reported. Now this, I don't even get, why are you throwing this in here as a thing against pet ownership? She reports that in 1877, the city of New York rounded up 700 stray dogs and drowned them in the East River. Okay. Did they have the rabies vaccine then? You know?
I don't know when that came out, but I'd say no.
I don't think so. So, you got stray dogs running around. It's 1877. Disease. I'm just saying, we wouldn't do that today. But you can't, I don't think you can judge. I don't think you can judge a generation by the same things the same rules and things that we know today. How can you do that? But there's a lot of that going on. I think, it's where, I don't know, I saw where, you ever seen Friends? Seen that show, Friends? The producer of that show gave $4 million to some cause the other day and apologized for something they said on the show 20 years ago that wasn't even a deal then, right? I mean, it wasn't even a deal. But I thought about, I wonder if I could tell her how much she offended me and she'd donate $4 million to me. I grew up with two friends. Now, what I'm telling you here is not a joke. This is odd, okay, but it's not a joke. But the girl who was my age was named Gay, which I'm assuming that's not a name that people are using anymore. But her name was Gay, and her brother was named Butch. And I have, obviously it didn't mean those things then, but I have long thought, what are the odds that you would have two kids and name both of them something that became a euphemism for the same thing? I mean, what are the odds? I don't think that any little girls are being named Gay anymore. There are some names that are just dead, I think. Agnes. I don't think there's any little Agneses. I don't think there's any little Ednas. I don't think there's any Gladyses. I went to school with a little girl named Gladys, and she hated her name. And I remember she'd gone first grade, second grade, third grade, and in the fourth grade, the first day of school, the teacher asked her what her name was. She said Happy Butt, And her teacher said, "That's not your name." She said, "It is. My name's Happy Butt." And she said, "We're not going to start the year like that. That's not your name. And if you insist on saying that's your name, you're going to the principal's office." She said, "My name's Happy Butt." She said, "Go to the principal's office." She went to the principal's office. The principal said, "Come on now, you know your name's not Happy Butt." The little girl said, "Happy Butt, glad ass, what's the difference?" How did I get into that? I don't even know. But there are some names that are just dead. There are no little Adolphs, I bet. No little Adolphs anymore. And I bet you if you looked in the do we still have phone books?
I haven't had one at my door in a long time.
Yeah, I don't know if we still have phone books, but I bet you if you looked in local listings, I bet you could find Mansons. I'll bet you anything there's a Gloria and Jim Manson. And they might have kids, but they ain't naming none of them Charlie, are they? I mean, that's a dead name. I knew a girl one time, honest truth, and her real name was Fairy. That was her real name. That's what her parents' name, Fairy. And the thing that's weird is, you can't help but think, how do parents name a kid Fairy? What are you thinking? But the odd thing is, she was tiny. She was tiny. She had a little high, squeaky voice. And so you kind of, it worked. It worked, okay? But, I mean, when they named that little baby Fairy, they didn't know. I mean, what if this woman had grown up to be 6'3" with a low voice? What's your name, Fairy? It wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked. Danica Patrick, there's a lot of new odd names this time. Yeah, we need to do a show about odd names. Really need to do a show about odd names. So back to, what were we talking about? Okay, back to the pet thing. Recently, several countries, not the U.S. yet, but several countries have moved to change the legal status of animals. In 2015, the government of New Zealand recognized animals as sentient beings, in effect, declaring them no longer property. And so did the Canadian province of Quebec. It's declared animals sentient beings. But when you're New Zealand and you declare animals sentient beings, I'm not sure how this squares with their war on possums. I mean, they had I saw in the newspaper the other day that they had a North Island school possum hunt, and so the government's thing regulating the possum hunt says every measure must be taken to euthanize possums as humanely as possible, with shooting being the preferred method. And a petition has been launched to ban these school possum hunts, because possum hunting is evidently widespread and popular across the North and the South Islands. And if you're going to declare them sentient beings, the word pests is problematic too, because it insinuates that they're worthless objects that can be treated without care, that they can be run over, beaten, shot, whatever. And there's an uproar in New Zealand saying we need to get back to the idea that all animals are sentient beings and that they do not deserve a cruel death, even possums. So this is the feeling, which is a difficult feeling to get across, given the government of New Zealand has pledged to wipe out possums, wipe out the species by 2050. So you got one on one side of their mouth, they're talking about sentient beings, and the other side of their mouth, they're wanting to wipe them out by 2050 because they kill birds. So doesn't everything eat something? But pets remain property in the U.S. for now. But 32 states now include provisions for pets under the domestic violence protection orders. And in 2001, Rhode Island changed its legislation to describe pet owners as guardians, a move that animal rights advocates applauded. And then here is Jessica Pierce again saying, crucially, our animals can't tell us whether they are happy being pets. They can't tell us. And there's an illusion now that pets have more voice than in the past. But maybe it's because we're putting words into their mouth. And then she points to the abundance of pets on social media that are plastered with witty sayings written by their parents. And she says maybe we're humanizing them in a way that actually makes them invisible. If you accept the argument that pet ownership is morally wrong, how do you put the brakes on it? One author named Sentient, after he had become a vegan and convinced his girlfriend to go vegan, considered his pet cockatiel. Now this is a quote. I remember he looked at me wistfully. Then he got the bird, took it outside, let it loose, and it flew up. All right, now, what's going to happen to that bird? Yeah, I see on all your mouths there. Die. Bird's going to die. Okay, now you think, hadn't you seen some National Geographic specials? We can't release the lion into the wild. The lion doesn't know how to hunt. We've got to, and so he has released his pet cockatiel, and the bird's gonna die. Now, in one way, you could go, well, I know that because I have some sense. But he just wanted his cockatiel to be free, and he ain't got any sense. He doesn't know anything about animals, and so he's letting him be free. And so you could kind of follow that logic. But listen to the rest of this. After he let his pet cockatiel fly away, he said, I knew she wouldn't survive, that she would starve. I guess I was doing it more for myself than for her. There you go. There you go. Do you care about the pet? Do you care about the animal? No. Who do you care about? Yourself. I mean, you know the bird's gonna die, and you let the bird go. So we got Pierce and this author Sentient, and they both agree that pet ownership is wrong. And while both agree that pet ownership is wrong, Jessica Pierce has 2 dogs and a cat, and Sentient has 6 dogs. This is the final statement on the matter. In the long haul, I think pet keeping will fall out of fashion. I think it's possible that robots will take their place. Or maybe pet owning will be for small numbers of people. Now, my number one thought after just kind of going through this, my number one thought is war in Ukraine, the economy, our country. No, these people don't want you to fish. See, that's another thing we're going to have to do a show on, is the stupidity.
Yep.
We need to come up with rules of stupidity. Or theorems about stupidity. You know, and I'll I think I will. Let's put the first theorem of stupidity out here today, just to kind of tease you for the show we'll do about stupidity at some point. Never underestimate the amount of stupid people within a mile of you at any one time. I don't think we can underestimate that. Because I think we've seen there's no shortage of stupid. And I know some kids say don't say that. That's a bad word. But I'm not sure how we can describe. I mean, there's funny dumb, like, hey, come over here. There's a clown around the corner. Really? Is it a real clown or somebody just dressed like a clown? I mean, that's just kind of unthinking, funny dumb, But people that know their cockatiels are going to die and they release them anyway, that's stupid. That's stupid.
That just reminds me, I saw this comment online a few weeks ago, and I thought it was going to be something scientific at first because there was a picture with it, and it showed the top of a human head, and it's kind of like dissected where it showed like there's 7 layers between the top of your head and your brain. And then someone had posted that picture with the comment that said, God hides your stupidity under 7 layers, yet you still continue to show it.
Oh my gosh. What do you think about God cartoons the other day? And there is a great, you remember Far Side? Remember the Far Side? Gary Larson, I just loved what he did. But there was one, and the label of the cartoon was In God's Kitchen. And it showed God with the big beard and the flowing robes, and he's there, and he's got a big pot on his stove, and there's the world is in that pot. You can see the world sticking up out of the pot. And he's got shakers that have Caucasians and Africans and Hispanic and Asian, but he's shaking one into the pot that says jerks, and God's thinking this ought to make things interesting. Oh my gosh! Thank you.
Before we go, just with all the talking about animals, can you tell us a little bit about the new photos behind you?
Yeah, we got these. I took that in Alaska, and it's eagles. Now, it was raining that day in Juneau. As you can see, they're pretty wet. But I paid $160 to a taxi driver to take me to some place that had eagles, and so.
And you didn't pay him $160 for the drive. It was $160 to wait.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. because, but in, and I don't know how many taxis were in Juneau, but in Sitka, they had 3 taxis in the whole place. And, try to find an Uber driver there. That is a snowy owl that I got a pretty good picture of. I was looking for the cigars. Remember those White Owl cigars? I remember when I was a little bitty kid, we would go to 7-Eleven. Mike Rawls and Harry Sneed and David Tomley. And I would go to the 7-Eleven, and we had our patter down about how we were going to buy cigars. How we were going to get them to let us buy cigars. That in our conversation, we would get there by the cigar rack, and of course the lady was behind the cashier, counter, and so we're there, and one of us would say, "What kind of cigars did Granddaddy say he wanted us to buy for him?" And the other one would say, "I think he wanted the cherry-flavored White Owls and the grape cigarillos." "Yes, that's what Granddaddy said he wanted." And then we'd get them, we'd put them up there, and then we'd pay for them with nickels and dimes. Granddaddy had change today. I'm sure that lady was like, "Yeah, right." Can you guys see? Can you see this picture? That's Adam, my youngest son, and those behemoths are catfish. Now the one I'm holding, he actually caught both of them. All right, and there were 2 others the size of the one that I'm holding, and the one I'm holding weighed 20 pounds. The one he's holding weighed 45 pounds and had a raccoon in its stomach.
I didn't know they could eat raccoons or anything that large.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest one I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest catfish I've ever seen, too. And that thing was just massive. All the art, the pretty art, is is on our website, and you can get it. We're thinking about putting some words on some of them, like putting the poem Jones wrote about the acorn on the acorn picture. But I take a lot of photos.
And you get new ones all the time, and we swap them out. And so I mean, a lot of them, I know some of these birds and stuff we don't even have on the site. But I think if anybody probably spots one behind you and emails us, I'm sure we could package it up for you.
I tell you what. That is an acorn from the Peacemaker oak, and if anybody wants this one, I'll handwrite the poem like on the side here. And for $50 to the Books for Veterans thing, whoever calls it first.
All right.
And then I'll handwrite the poem here on the side. So how's that? And so thank you guys for being with us today. We have a good time doing these blue plates. Sometimes they're a little more serious. Sometimes they're funny. Sometimes we handle stuff. And today I think we probably did a combination. Heather Olson says she'll take it. That's Heather Olson from Utah. Okay, Heather, and I will I'll put the poem here on the side. That'll be the $50 for the books for veterans. So that's great. Thank you very much. And we appreciate you guys being here. Don't forget the Life Skills Project. Look for it on the on andyandrews.com. And if you're not yet a member of wisdomharbor.com, shame on you. You should be a member of wisdomharbor.com. This is incredible, and it's very inexpensive. So grab hold of it. And we'll see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.